দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি চ্যানেল 24 এর নিয়মিত আয়োজন মুখোমুখিতে প্রতিবারের মতো আজকে আমাদের সাথে আছে একজন বিশেষ অতিথি। আজকে আমাদের সাথে আছে ঢাকার জাপানের রাষ্ট্রদূত ইতোনোকি। ওয়েলকাম টু দ্য শো এক্সেলেন্সি।
Thank you very much for having me on this show. I'm so honored.
It's been a pleasure. So there was a trip about to be happen and it didn't happen. So would you like to say, I'd like to know from you why the trip didn't happen, because you had given a lot of effort for that.
We will continue to work towards the early visit by Honorable Prime Minister because that is so beneficial for us. So my assignment has been challenging but rewarding over the last 3 years. So taking this opportunity, I'd like to thank all the friends, the people, the government of Bangladesh, and including journalists like you, who made my life in Bangladesh, Dhaka, more enriching as well as worthwhile. Thank you very much.
So it was not political or corona situation, I believe. That's why the trip is about to be rescheduled.
Both sides are working for the upcoming visit. So regardless of what happened. So that is the main thing. The Japan, Bangladesh, both governments are looking at a visit of Honorable Prime Minister, hoping that will happen sooner rather than later, hoping that will elevate our partnership to a new height, because we have still big rooms for development between our friendship, partnership, and cooperation.
From this visit, are we going to have, or is it's under discussion that we will be looking at, or Bangladesh will be having at new ODA?
The Japanese official development assistance, if you look at on commitment basis, that increased drastically over the last 10 years. So 10 years ago, it's in the order of 300 million US dollars. But now, over the last 2 fiscal years, it's in the order of 3 billion US dollars, which clearly demonstrate that the Bangladesh the economy is growing. The demands for infrastructure are very much high. So one of the pillars of Japanese ODA is, of course, the infrastructure development, so cooperation on quality infrastructure. But we have other pillars too, like diversification of industry, to introduce high-valued industry to Bangladesh. And also third pillar is this addressing social vulnerabilities of this country. So we'll continue to provide our cooperation in those 3 areas, on those 3 pillars, so that Bangladesh will continue to be on the right track in its development journey.
Right. So also the relationship is turning into a new phase, like from development assistance to become partner, now strategic partner. So when Bangladesh becomes a strategic partner of Japan, so Japan has opportunity to help enhancing the capacity of in the defense sector. And think there's discussion is going on. Would you like to enlighten us on this issue?
Because you asked me about this security cooperation. Of course, that is going to be a very key area when we are going to have strategic partnership. So we will, I think, expand the opportunities of exchanging officers, unit-to-unit exchange, training, port calls by self-defense force ships or naval ships. So January this year, 2 ships of Japanese self-defense forces did a port call to Tejgaon. That was the curtain raiser of the 50th anniversary.
Right.
And they did a goodwill exercise with Bangladesh Navy. So I think these exchange need to be more sort of frequented. And on top of that, now what we are looking at is this defense equipment procurement or technology cooperation. So specific item we are looking at is this mobile defense radar system. So I know that the Bangladesh Air Force has shown very strong interest
Okay.
in procuring this. So now we are doing preparation, consultations between the two governments. Hopefully the mission will be coming from Japan. That is going to be a joint mission of government and the private industry. And then
When is that?
we don't know the date yet. We don't know the date yet. But later in the year, early next year, we should have this joint mission coming from Japan. And then in parallel to that, our hope is that high-ranking official of Bangladesh Air Force will go to Japan to look at the manufacturing factory or how the system is used by Japanese Self-Defense Force. So the Bangladesh Air Force may have some other interest on other products as well. But it is really a welcoming move that Bangladesh military, particularly Air Force, is showing its interest in procuring defense-related equipment from Japan. Certainly this will open up a new chapter of cooperation.
Definitely it is. But Excellency, before I take a break, I need to ask you another question regarding that. Japanese technology is definitely fantastic and sustainable, but it's also expensive. Do you think the Air Force have the affordability to buying this in this particular sector? If some coordination or help or capacity building is needed, will your country do that?
I don't know the details of this pricing aspect of this particular radar system, but recently this Japanese company, Mitsubishi Electronic, had a deal with the Filipino Air Force, a very similar type of mobile radar system. So in light of this economic development of Bangladesh, so although now every country on a global basis is having economic difficulty, but after getting out of this economic difficulty, I expect that the Bangladesh military air force will be able to purchase the similar mobile radar system. I know that one of the priorities of military is to diversify the source of procurement of defense-related equipment. I hope Japan will be one of those countries from which Bangladesh will purchase defense-related equipment.
Right. Excellency, on this point I need to take a break. We'll come back and discuss more. দর্শক, আমরা আলোচনা করছিলাম জাপান বাংলাদেশের সম্পর্কের বহুমাত্রিকতা নিয়ে। সেখানে সামরিক এবং প্রতিরক্ষা খাতে জাপান বাংলাদেশকে সহযোগিতা করতে চায়, যেহেতু বাংলাদেশ এখন ভৌগোলিকভাবে অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। আলোচনার এই পর্যায়ে একটা বিরতি নিচ্ছি, সাথে থাকুন, ফিরছি একটু পর। Excellency, welcome to the show once again. As we've been discussing about different projects and cooperation, partnership and strengthening the relationship. So you are already having multiple and giant projects like Metro Rail, like Matarbari. So when the Japanese companies are implementing these projects, what are the challenges they face every day? And as you've been here almost like 4 years, so when you go to different ministry and talk about these challenges, how fast they mitigate these challenges?
First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to the fact that Bangladesh government and people have been choosing Japan as the prominent development partner. So what we need to do is to keep this expectation high, and we need to live up to this expectation. I think that is a very important thing. So that is why the Japanese companies, JICA, when they are involved in the quality infrastructure project, first thing they need to be aware with the timely implementation of the project, the timely completion of the project. Also, cost element is very, very important. But there are some challenges, of course, as they do this implementation of projects. So there are, I think, maybe 3-4 issues they need to deal with. First and foremost is, of course, security and safety issue. Yeah, because there was this very tragic holy artisan incident. So 6 years ago. which killed 7 Japanese nationals who are engaged in this preliminary study of line 1 of Dhaka MRT.
Right.
So safety and security of those involved in this project are our primary concern. But on this issue, I would say that the government is very responsive, and the government tries its best to comply with requests from JICA, Japanese government, and those companies involved to ensure the level of safety and security. And other issues, in a way, very common issue wherever you do projects, like this land acquisition issue. So sometimes, even in Bangladesh, this land acquisition part takes longer than anticipated. And also coordination, prioritization among ministries or related agencies. So sometimes this can be a challenge. But clearly, I think objective is shared with, so between Japanese side and the Bangladesh side. So once this economic situation turns better, so I do hope that there will be a better coordination, better prioritization on those key quality infrastructure projects. And sometimes Japanese companies face the issue of taxation.
Okay.
But those are specific issues. But I hope that we'll be able to work out good solution for mutual benefit as we do implement those very important quality projects for the development of Bangladesh.
Right. And when the Arai economic zone will be fully functioning, and what economic vibe it will create?
Arai Special Economic Zone is very, very important in attracting foreign direct investments, particularly from Japan. Although this Arai Special Economic Zone, it's named Bangladesh Special Economic Zone, is not only for Japanese investment, but also for international investment.
Right.
There will be an opening ceremony early part of December. So I think companies will start operating there, say sometime in March, April next year. So no doubt that this will be the sort of pulling factor of foreign direct investments. Already the number of Japanese companies are looking at the possibility of making investment into Arai Special Economic Zone. So this will be a very symbolic project in this industrial corridor between Dhaka and Chattogram and Cox's Bazar. So, but at the same time, it's very important that this investment climate needs to improve. So ease of doing business needs to be there in this country. So unless those companies which have been already in operation in Bangladesh enjoy a better investment climate, not many prospective companies will come. So we need parallel efforts. So facilitating infrastructure, facility by opening this Arai Special Economic Zone. At the same time, we need to make joint efforts between Japanese side, Bangladesh side to improve business environment. But I'm sure that this investment from Japan will increase. Now, if you look at the flow of investment, it's around 100 million or even less than 100 million annually. But I know that once Arai starts, then this figure could increase, say, 200 million, 300 million. So I'm sure this will have immediate impact in terms of the flow of foreign direct investments coming from Japan.
Actually, my last question in this section, before I take another break. So as you know, Bangladesh is going through a bit of financial crisis, and the reserve crisis is getting quite alarming. So is there any option that you're thinking of, or Japan is thinking of, helping in this manner?
So this is a global crisis, so triggered by Russian aggression over Ukraine. So it's really important to see the peace process being in place sooner rather than later. So the more protracted this aggression war, the worse economic impact we would have on global basis. So on this economic situation, it was a really wonderful step that you agreed with IMF regarding 4.5 billion
Right.
US dollars was assistance package. So I really hope that this assistance package will be steadily implemented in accordance with the agreement Bangladesh government has with IMF. Bangladesh government requested Japan to provide budget support this year. So under corona pandemic, we did the 2 rounds of budget support. So fiscal year 2021 or 2021, 22 and 2021, 2020. So it's 30 billion yen and 45 billion yen each. So in light of the economic difficulties now Bangladesh face, so we have been considering what sort of support we can provide to Bangladesh. But we have not decided when to provide the scale of assistance we are going to provide this time around. But we are seriously considering this possibility.
How much Bangladesh asked from Japan?
I think the requested amount was 750 million US dollars. Okay. So, but like I said,
for a fiscal year,
for this fiscal year, but we have not decided the scale of assistance and timing of assistance.
Sure.
But we are considering this possibility.
Thank you so much, Excellency. On this discussion, we'll take another break and we'll come back. Now, then we'll talk about the IPS, Japan strategy, and so on. So let's take a break. দর্শক, আমরা আলোচনা করছিলাম যে এই যে রিজার্ভ সংকটে, এই সংকটে জাপান কিভাবে বাংলাদেশের সহযোগিতা করতে পারে এবং অন্যান্য অর্থনৈতিক নানান প্রকল্প থেকে শুরু করে সবকিছু নিয়ে আলোচনায় পরে যে আরও একটা বিরতি নিচ্ছি, সাথে থাকুন, ফিরছি একটু পর। দর্শক, আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি মুখোমুখিতে আরও একবার। আমাদের সাথে আছেন ঢাকার জাপানের রাষ্ট্রদূত Ito Naoki. Excellency, welcome to the show once again. And we've been talking about lot of issues from fiscal help coordination towards many things. Now, see, Japan has a strategy which is part of IPS and its Bay of Bengal. Where do you find Bangladesh and why that particular position is so important right now? Is it just because of the geography or just because of the potential we have?
Japan promotes FOIP, Free Open Indo-Pacific.
Right.
And we regard Bangladesh as partner in promoting free, open Indo-Pacific. Yes, Bangladesh's location is strategically important, and Bangladesh's potential of economic development is very important for the prosperity of entire Indo-Pacific region, beyond Bay of Bengal region. And above all, we have such a wonderful partnership between the two countries. So that is why we regard Bangladesh as partner of Japan in pursuing this free, open Indo-Pacific. So this vision of free, open Indo-Pacific has 3 pillars.
Right.
One is to share values like democracy, market economy, rule of law, rule-based international order, freedom of navigation.
Right.
And second pillar is to pursue economic prosperity. And third one is to this cooperation, promote cooperation on peace and security.
Right.
So, and on the basis of this idea, we provide and extend practical cooperation to Bangladesh, starting from infrastructure, regional connectivity, disaster management, maritime safety, or even humanitarian assistance or climate change. So we will continue to provide this sort of practical cooperation to Bangladesh. And we regard free open Indo-Pacific global commons in the region. So we are not excluding any country in the region. We are not targeting or containing any country in the region. But we just promote the vision in embodying free, open in the Pacific. This is a vision of peace, development, and prosperity. So a very important element is this rule-based international order,
Okay.
freedom of navigation, rule of law. And I'm sure that Bangladesh respects those elements, which are very important basis of international society.
Right.
So, and Bangladesh says that free, open, inclusive, peaceful, and secure Indo-Pacific based on international law and shared prosperity for all. This is the same as what I have talked about.
Right.
Maybe the number of adjectives was slightly larger than just free and open, but clearly we are looking at the same direction.
Right.
So we are really feel rest assured that Japan and Bangladesh can go together as partner in pursuing free and open Indo-Pacific.
Right. Coming from this IPS to Rohingya issue, when Bangladesh and Japan and with other countries are going to implement this IPS practicality, the Rohingya is the crisis. And you are one of those ambassadors who've been to Bhasanchar and Cox's Bazar often, and you help also. But there is also criticism that Japanese company, Toyota, is building factories in Myanmar. So what's your take on this criticism and how this crisis may come to end in near future? What do you think?
I think two parallel efforts are important.
Okay.
What to do with the situation in Myanmar. Also, how we can improve the situation for Rohingya refugees. For Myanmar, we need to build the enabling environment for repatriation.
Okay.
Because repatriation is the ultimate solution to Rohingya crisis. No doubt about that. So Japan has been taking opportunities to send messages to Myanmar military that halting violence is important. The early release of those detained, essential, and restoration of democratic process is critical.
Okay.
So an important thing is that the improvement of the situation inside Myanmar, particularly in Rakhine State, will lead to enabling environment of repatriation from Bangladesh to Myanmar. So we will continue this sort of effort vis-à-vis Myanmar. You talked a bit about this economic situation, the Japanese company's operation in Myanmar. So I think that those companies are faced with a very difficult situation because of the political situation in Myanmar. So the political situation may lead to an even more difficult situation for companies to operate. But those are the, I think, decisions made by the companies themselves.
Okay.
So I'm sure that they are looking at the political development situation in Myanmar. So I said that the parallel efforts are important. How you improve the situation for refugees. So the situation is very much protracted. This is a protracted crisis. Then you may need to look at the situation slightly from slightly different angle. So those refugees are there, and we need to expect that those refugees will stay longer than what we had anticipated. So then we need to prepare those refugees for future return. We need to give those refugees, Rohingya population, resilience. They need to equip themselves for their future lives. And also, we should allow them to have purposeful lives every day inside the camp or in Bhasanchar. So, education, skills development, livelihood opportunities. Those three areas are very key areas for them to be more resilient. So I think we should cooperate together, international community, United Nations agencies, and Bangladesh government, for the purpose of the resilience of Rohingya refugees, improving the conditions, environment of camps as well as Basham Chao, knowing that they are going to stay there longer than what we had anticipated. Also, this relocation to Basham Chao needs to be successful, needs to be sustainable. Then joint efforts between Bangladesh government and international community are very, very important, very, very essential. So you might like to see, even look at, say, economic interchange with neighboring Cho or even place like Noakari to make Basham Chao relocation project more sustainable. But important thing is 90% of population are there at the camps. So we should not lose sight of the importance of improving the environment inside the camp so that those population can cope with prolonged lives inside the camps.
Right. Excellency, we are about to end the show, but before ending the show, I have two particular questions, which the first one I already asked you in the opening of the show. I will ask that in later one. But your recent answering questions on the election and democracy made a really, I would say, good buzz in the town. That's the talk of the town, and you're the talk of the town man. So how do you feel? Because you spent almost 4 years, you met all the political parties, you met business people, you met young people, you even sang a song in DCAP program, in other programs. So from that old perception, when you talked about the ballot box stuffing in a particular program, and the next day you had pre-scheduled meeting with the foreign secretary, and there were a lot of things being said which may not be true, may be true, you don't know. I'd like to know about more from you. How do you really feel talking of that particular issue, and do you still carry that?
You know, not only myself, but all the like-minded countries, heads of mission here, are hoping that there will be free and fair election and participatory election end of next year or early 2024. So that is my hope and expectation. That is what I talked about. Well, that is what I have been talking to all the interlocutors of mine. So during my assignment in Bangladesh. So that is what I want to stress here. But I'm sure, in light of the efforts done by Election Commission and others concerned, so next election will be better election, going to be free and open, a fair election and participatory election, hopefully. So that is my hope and expectation.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely a pleasure talking with you, and wish you all the success in your next mission. And the amount of money, the amount of time you spend to have this schedule tour, I wish that will become a success. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
দর্শক, আমরা কথা বলছিলাম জাপানের রাষ্ট্রদূতের সাথে। তিনি যে পরিমাণ সময়, শ্রম এবং মেধা দিয়েছিলেন, আশা করছেন যে সেই সফরটি হবে এবং বাংলাদেশ এখন ভৌগোলিকভাবে অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ, ফলে জাপানের যে উন্নয়ন সহযোগিতা সেটি অব্যাহত থাকবে অংশীদারিত্বমূলক সহযোগিতাও। দেখা হবে মুখোমুখির অন্য কোনো পর্বে অন্য কোনো অতিথির সাথে। সুস্থ থাকুন, নিরাপদে থাকুন।